Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm just gonna get into my recap video this week. I don't have much time to actually go through in too much detail this week because I'm kind of pressed for time, but I'll get through what I can in the time that I have, right? It's actually Friday today, so the market's still open, but I'm not gonna take any more trades this week. I'm wrapped up for the week. So I'll just kind of recap everything here for you. So the Euro USD trade from last week that closed off, so I'll close up the rest of that position this week. Closed off on pretty much 4R, right? This was the trade here at the time that I took the trade, right? So that's where I took the trade. Typical break and retest, previous structure highs, confluence of the trend line, 618 fib, right? And then this was a trade here at the time that I closed it off. Cool, so this is the trade. I think I did analysis here. This is where I had the trade at when I did analysis last. So I closed off the first position just here, which was Friday last week. And then I think, obviously this was market open just here. So I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, but eventually it pushed up and hit that TP either Monday or Tuesday. Right, so I'll just jump to the chart here quickly. Cool, so right, so this is where I closed off that first position, right? And then whatever day was the 18th, yeah, so the 18th, that's when TP was hit. So what I'm looking at here now is price is currently testing these previous highs. It had an impulsive break, it came back, it retested it. I didn't take an entry here, although that would have been a trade just to these previous highs and then looking for it to kind of push to complete the channel or something, but it would have come back and take me out at break even anyway. So yeah, I'll keep monitoring this. I'll do some more analysis on it on Sunday. All right, so the next trade, or actually the first trade this week, was on NZDCAD. So this is a trade I spoke about on the analysis video. Actually, all these trades I spoke about on the analysis video. So this was one that was setting up on Sunday, and I actually said I'd be interested in taking the trade if it does give me an entry signal, and it did. So I'll just talk it through. So NZDCAD, it was taken on the 4-hour time frame. It was a short position. It was a typical break and retest, 618 fib confluence together with a 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. Trade worked out nicely. Booked some profits as the previous order block, and I felt a little bit uncomfortable as the trade started to pull back, right? So this was the trade here at the time that I entered. All right, so yeah, so this was the kind of range that we were having, right? I was saying that we're probably going to see that kind of flag formation. We had the continuation, came back, it retested the base of the flag or the base of the range, gave that entry confirmation, and that's where I entered. All right, and then this was a trade here at the time that I closed it off. All right, so yeah, so entered here, trade pushed nicely into profit. This was that previous block that I decided to take some profit at, so I closed half of the position there, and then I suffered some pullback. It almost came back for that break even, but instead it kind of respected this previous block just here, and then the following day just dipped down and actually hit that final TP. All right, so I'll just jump to the chart quickly. NZDCAD. All right, so pretty simple setup. All right, so obviously previous lows came up, tested with rejection. It formed that nice evening star pattern, which is one of my favorite entry patterns, especially on the higher time frame. Put stops just above the level. I could have gone a little bit tighter with my stops in this instance, right? I could have gone just at the previous high, but you never know with these pairs. In this instance, I could have gone tighter because of the market structure. You could just tell the pair has been respecting market structure very nicely. So I could have gone tighter with my stops, but I was happy with the entry anyway, right? This was that previous block I was looking at, right? So we had price breakout impulsively after this range. So, to me, there's going to be a lot of buyers probably sitting around this area, right? So that's where I decided to book some of my profits. I think that was around 2R or 1.7R or something like that. Yeah, 2R. Right, so yeah, booked half the profits at 2R, and then the final TP was around 3.1 or 3R or something like that. All right, so I had to deal with this little pullback, but again, we had this previous block here, price broke impulsively, came back, it tested it, and then sellers took back over and pushed price lower, hitting that TP. So right now we're actually having a break of the previous lows right now. I don't know if we get a nice bearish closure on this on the day. Let's have a quick look at the daily time frame. Yeah, so if we have a nice bearish closure on this on the day, then you know this might be something to look at maybe next week for a possible retracement. I do have a very tiny position still running on this, just because I see a lot of downside potentially. It's only like, I don't know, 1/10 of my original position, so that's still open and running. So I'll be paying attention to this pair just to see what it wants to do. If it wants to just continue selling, then I'll be happy. All right, so moving on to the next trade here for the week was AUDUSD. Right, so this was also spoken about on the analysis video. Right, it was taken on the 1 hour time frame as a long position, break and retest, but this was based off of that H1 inverted head and shoulders, right? So that was the break and retest. It was a more of a shift in structure back into uptrend structure, right? So it tested so it's a break and retest of the head and shoulders pattern, the inverted head and shoulders pattern on the H1 time frame together with the 4 hour 200 EMA. There was also a trend line in play. I was happy with how I managed the position. Right, so I'll just jump to the actually no, so this was the trade here at the time that I entered the position. Right, so this is when I entered. I think I got my entry on this drawing a little bit wrong. I just kind of I had this drawn in as an example just to remind myself of what I was planning to do. But I actually entered just a little bit lower, so my entry was a little bit better than represented here. So yeah, so this was the chart here. So we had that kind of head and shoulders pattern just there, broke above, came back, retested with rejection, and then that's where I entered, right, looking for that continuation. And then this here was a trade at the time that I closed it off, or that I was taken out of the trade. Right, so I booked some profits here at these previous highs as normal. So just that previous structure, I closed half of the position there. And then I decided to close half of the position here, another 25% of the position here, right? After it started to break these lows, right? And then the rest was taken out here at break even. So I'll just jump to the chart. So that's why I have on that second position, basically the second position was 1.7 R, but I closed half of the remaining position. So I just divided that in half, right? So that was my total return on the second position. All right, so I'll just jump to the chart here. AUDUSD, where are you? AUDUSD. All right, cool. So on this pair, right, so it was on a 1 hour time frame. So basically we have this kind of ascending channel, right? So you just have price kind of moving bullishly within this channel. And what I was looking at on the 1 hour time frame, right, was here we had that kind of leakage of the channel, right? Just right here is where we had that leakage. And it's not super clear, but you know, I was seeing this kind of head and shoulders formation, right? And I don't trade, I know a lot of people trade off of the right shoulder, but that there's no trade entries there for me. I need to see confirmation that price wants to shift in structure, which happened here, right? We broke above the neckline very impulsively. So we have, this is the neckline just here where I have that zone drawn in. Broke above it very impulsively, it came back and retested it. So this was where I did analysis. So just this little drawing just here. So that's the kind of movement I was looking for off of this level, right? I was looking for price to pull back in, reject, and then look for that push higher. So that did happen, and I took my entry as planned on the rejection of the level, right here. So this was my entry candle. I got in a little bit later. I just waited for it to kind of start pushing higher on the lower time frames. So I didn't get in exactly on the close of the candle. So it started to push higher a little bit, and that's where I got in. Book profits here, these previous highs. So I had my first TP there, which was taken. And then this is what I was looking at in terms of shift in structure, right? So we had price pushing higher, price pushing higher, making higher highs, higher lows, and then it made a, so this was the last low. You know, we had this kind of pullback, right? So this was the last low here. When price pushed down and broke that low and failed to break this high, so this was a failure of breaking the high. We didn't create a new higher high. I decided if we were to have another lower low, right? So if we were to break past these lows here, right? If we were to break past these lows here, I'd close another portion of my position, right? So I'll close on half of the remaining position once price broke past this level just here. And once that happened, I only had a quarter of the position left open, and the remainder of that position was taken out here at break even, right? So the first TP was at roughly 2.23R, and then the remainder of the position was around 1.7, right? 1.67, 1.7, something like that, right? So yeah, I mean, I was happy with the trade. I was happy with how I managed it. I could have probably closed the remainder of the position just there and just exit the trade, but you know, part of me was kind of thinking, even though it's forming lower highs and lower lows, it's forming it very correctively, but then we just had this impulse down, right? You can see this is very corrective, right? So I think it was, part of me was thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe it's just collecting orders to just have that other push up, you know, something, I guess something similar to this, right? So you kind of have this impulse, correction, impulse, correction. So I was just looking for that next impulse to kind of break past these previous highs just here, right, where I have this zone drawn in. But that obviously didn't happen, right? So yeah, but anyway, I was happy with that trade regardless. So that was that one, and then I think the last trade here for me this week was taken on USDJPY. It was also a trade I spoke about on the analysis video. It was taken on the forward time frame. It was a long position. Break and retest. We had the 50% Fibonacci retracement. We also had that 200 EMA coming in on the 1 hour time frame, and there was also, sorry, there was a 200 EMA on the 4 hour time frame, and that there was 1 hour irregular divergence. Price action wasn't super clear at the level, but my buy entry signal came. I didn't really feel great about the position, but I executed as I planned. I'm happy with how I managed the trade. All right, so this was the trade here at the time that I entered. Cool. So yeah, so this was the trade at the time that I entered, right? So we had this massive impulse breaking past these previous highs just here. It's not really it's just market structure highs, right? We had a shift in structure just there, right? And then price pulled in. But you see this area here where we closed off on this big bearish candle. I didn't really like that. And then price struggled to push higher. And then we finally kind of peaked above just here on that candle. But you know, it gave me my entry signal, so I decided to take the position anyway. And then this was the trade here at the time that I closed it off. Sweet. So we had price initially push up, right? It almost pushed to that 1 hour position. But it didn't actually meet the previous highs just here, right? It didn't meet those previous highs, and we closed. This was on the closing of that 4 hour candle. So yeah, I just decided to close the position off there because it would have been closing off with a massive rejection together with the price action that was being formed, and it also was rejecting a trend line that was, if I was to pull a trend line down here, is rejecting that trend line as well. So I just decided, you know what, to hell with it. I'll cut my losses. Well, cut the trade early here, right? And I actually closed off in a little bit of profit, but I just called it break even. I think it was like 0.03R or something like that. So I don't know, very, very small profit, but yeah. So anyway, I'll just jump to the charts now to talk you through the trade. All right, so okay, so this is where I took my position just here, right? So I had this trend line drawn in. I mean, it wasn't the most valid trend line, but you know, it's valid enough for me, because you know, this is the shift in structure for my origination, right? So once we had that breaker structure, you can even call this your breaker structure here. You know, these highs, really for me, these are the structural highs that were broken. So once those highs were broken, that's where it would originate my trend line if something is to form. All right, so came down, formed these lows, and then so you just connect your first touch to your second touch and pull it into the future. I'll consider all of this one touch, right? So this isn't the third touch for me. So this would be the third touch here, right? And you can see here why I'm saying that the trade was a little bit invalid. I didn't like the price action, right? One, we had a close beneath my trading level. So this is my market structure level here that was broken impulsively, looking for price to come back down correctively, which it did up until this point. It had a kind of rush of sellers here, right? And it closed beneath my trading level, and it also kind of closed beneath the trend line, right? So I didn't really like that for one. But you know, we still stuck within the kind of zone that I like to trade, kind of between that 50% and 618 level. But the entry didn't come until like 4 candles later, right? So price finally pushed back and closed above the level, right? So just on this candle here, that's the candle that closed back above the trading level, and that gave me my entry. That gave me my entry reason, right? Now that doesn't always happen. Like you know, for me, it has to kind of close back above the level within a certain period of time. It kind of, that's a little bit subjective. There's no strict rule for me there, but you know, within 4 candles definitely fits the criteria, right? And the trade still needs obviously to be valid, right? And then I think on the 1 hour time frame, which gave me a little bit more confluence for this trade, was that I was seeing some regular divergence, right? So we were having price kind of forming these equal lows, even actually lower lows, right? But you just call them equal lows just here within this little range, right? On the RSI here, we were forming those higher lows while we were forming equal lows, and technically lower lows, right? Because price was pushing lower. It wasn't closing lower, but sellers were able to push price lower, but the momentum was a lot weaker, right? So then this engulfing candle here on the 1 hour time frame, that was my entry just there. And then, you know, price, we had to deal with a little bit of drawdown, not much. Kind of came back, tested the structure highs here, just in the zone, and then, you know, it initially pushed pretty good into profit. I think it pushed about 1 hour into profit, but you know, straight away, like once it pushed into profit, you know, it took some time for price to get there, right? We're talking about like 10 or 12 candles or something to get price up to that level. And then within 2 candles, the sellers were able to push price lower, right? So that for me was enough reason for me to just get out the trade. I mean, I closed the trade off on, it's likely in profit, but you know, I just called it break even. And then, you know, that resulted, so those 2 bearish candles here on the 1 hour time frame resulted in a rejection candle, a counter trend candle for me, or counter trade candle for me on the 4 hour time frame, right? That resulted in this 4 hour candle just here, and that's why I closed the trade off. And it's a good thing I did, because otherwise it would have, you know, spiked down and take me out here. So, you know, I'm happy with my trading decision. Right now, I'm just keeping this trend line in here just because I want to see what the market does at this level. What I might be waiting to see is probably, I don't know, probably a push past, you know, impulsive break past these highs here, right? Come back, retest, and then look for continuation if prices wants to kind of continue an uptrend structure. I don't know what's gonna happen. This is a very weak kind of rangy you know, price action right now anyway, so you know, I might just leave this one alone. So that was it. That was pretty much my trades here for the week. There was one opportunity that I did miss, GBPNZD. So I didn't miss the opportunity as such. I just decided not to trade it because it was I didn't want to be overly exposed to the NZD, because I already took NZDCAD and GBPNZD set up at the same time, so I didn't take this trade. But I've been talking to a friend of mine, and I think I will probably be adjusting my rules with regards to exposure on various currencies. I'm kind of limiting my upside, right? Like, this is the 2nd week in a row where I didn't take a second position, or I didn't take a trade because of the exposure to a particular currency. And I mean, even though the NZDCAD trade did work out, right? I mean, but the NZDCAD trade was a 3-hour opportunity, whereas the GBPNZD trade was a 4-hour opportunity, right? So I'm kind of limiting my upside a little bit. So I just need to probably do a little bit more testing and thinking and do some math and try to figure out how I could better take advantage of these things. So what I might do is I might start limiting myself to 2 trades on a particular currency, right? So a particular base currency. So yeah, I just need to think about it a little bit more. But yeah, anyway, so that kind of wraps up the video here, wraps up the recap. Obviously, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. And if you think these videos would be useful to anyone, or if you like the way that I analyze the market, or you think somebody would gain benefit from these type of videos, then, you know, obviously just feel free to share it with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on Sunday for the Outlook video.